Hello my dear students, how are you? I hope you are doing well. So today again we are here with a new science chapter, that is reaching the age of adolescence. So again, let us see what we are going to see in this chapter and study in this chapter. So we are having reaching the age of adolescence. So are you guys ready with this? Let us start. So here in this chapter, we'll start with the introduction part, then we'll talk about the adolescence and puberty. We'll discuss about what are the changes at puberty stage. We'll discuss about secondary sexual characters, role of hormone in initiating reproductive function, reproductive phase of life in humans. Then we'll talk about how is the sex of baby determined, hormones other than sex hormones in our body, released in our body, and what is their role. Then we'll talk about the reproductive health and some don'ts and do's that are related to our reproductive health. So let us start with this chapter. Initially, we'll talk about the introduction part. So when we talk about the introduction, we see that the reproduction word is a biological process of converting or formation of a new organism that is produced from their parents. So basically the biological process by which a new organism has been produced from their parents, we call it as reproduction. And we know that reproduction is very fundamental phenomena. It is very fundamental process for each species individually so that that organism can exist in nature. So for an individual to exist in nature, this process, this phenomena is very, very important. So when we talk about the reproduction, we should know what are the two types of reproduction. You must have studied in previous classes. So we know that there are two important types of reproduction. One is the sexual reproduction and other is asexual reproduction. Now, we'll talk about the detail about the adolescence. So adolescence, when we talk, we say that it is a developmental phase that is filled with the major changes. That means all those major changes that we observe during this adolescence is nothing but the sexuality. It includes the relationship, it includes the physical maturity and emotional feelings along with the cognitive processes. So let us discuss all these points in detail. So when we talk about the important thing, we know that there are certain physical changes in body. Generally, it's been observed at this age of adolescence, the human body develops some changes, and physically when we talk about in the case of boys, the growth here increases, especially at chest area. Then we'll talk about what is adolescence period, especially in boys and in girls, and how it varies. So when we talk about adolescence period, it begins around 11 years of age and remains around 18 to 19 years. So I can say it begins from 11 years of age till age of 18 or 19, where these adolescence changes has been observed in the body of any human being or any individual. It covers teens and thus we call it as teenager. So this is related with all the teens and thus we call it as teenager. So it is a problem or it is the growth that is observed in the case of teens, we call it as teenagers. In girls, the adolescence begins around 1 or 2 years earlier than that in boys. Adolescence, it also varies from person to person. That means the age number is a limit for certain cases, but it may varies for other cases. Now we'll discuss more into detail. So we'll talk about the puberty. As we have discussed adolescence and we have discussed so many changes, now we'll talk about puberty and then we'll discuss in detail. So when we talk about puberty, we say that the human body that undergoes several changes during adolescence. There have been several changes that the person have gone through it. These changes actually marks the onset of puberty. That means it shows that yes, the puberty has been started. The most important change in the boys and girls, it became capable of reproduction. That means now they are ready for the reproduction. They are capable. Their body is now able to reproduce. Puberty ends when an adolescent reaches reproductive maturity. So it starts with the age that we have discussed till the age of 18 or 19, as it varies for boys and girls, and all these changes have been observed during this stage. Now, what are the changes at puberty? So let us discuss. First thing is increase in height, then we'll talk about change in body shape, then the voice also become deeper and sharper. In boys and girls it varies. Then we talk about the increased activity of sweat and sebaceous glands that has been observed, development of definitely sex organs, reaching mental, intellectual, and finally emotional maturity. So let us discuss. When we talk about the increase in height, you can see a newborn baby, and that as it increases in age, definitely we can see the increase in height is also been observed. So this is one of the common factor that generally has been observed during this adolescence period. So one is the increase in height, that is for boys as well as for girls. So we observe sudden increase in height during this puberty stage, especially for boys and girls. At the time of puberty, the long bones, that means bones of arms and legs, they elongate, and we can see, yes, the person becomes taller. For example, by the age of 11, boys complete almost 81% of probable full height and girls about 88%. Now the thing is how to find the average growth rate. So here there is a table given in your NCERT also, and here we have shown you a table that at what age, particular age, the person completes its increase in height. So we can see that starts from 8 years, where the boy attains around 72% of height and the girls attain around 77%, till the age of 18, that it increases around at this age and it becomes 100% till the age of 100. That means generally it's been observed that beyond 18 the increase in height is not observed in human beings. So this is the reason, and here the 100% height has been achieved till the age of 18. Now we'll talk about the formula to calculate full height in centimeter. So what is your present height, that you will write in centimeter, then write what is the percentage of full height at this stage. Using that table you can find, multiply it by 100, so that you come to know, okay, by the age of 18 I'll be achieving this much of height. So let us see an example how we can find. Suppose a boy is of 15 years old and its height is around 140 centimeter tall. Till the ending of growth period, what should be the final height? That means around 18, when he has attained all 100% of height. Let us see. So when we talk about 15 years of age is there and 140 centimeter tall. So at 15 years we can compare it from the chart that 95% height has been achieved, and we can say that 140 divided by 95 multiply by 100 using this formula. That means present height, which is 140, the percentage of full height that you can select it from the table, that is 95% at the age of 15 for boy, and multiplied by 100. So he'll be around 147 centimeter tall. So this is the general formula to calculate the full height in centimeter at that age. Now let us perform an activity, and what are you supposed to do? Take age on x-axis, age of boys, age of girls on x-axis, and the percent of height, full height in along this y-axis. Use the data, whatever be the data you collect from your friends, in your class or in your family, with your cousins, collect the data and try to draw a graph. Ultimately, you observe that when the 100% height has been attained, the height of these girls and boys, you can see and compare how the increase in height has been observed for girls and boys. So you can see that the rate of growth in height varies in different individuals. So it always varies from person to person. That means this is not for all, but yes, for different boys, different girls, this height may vary, because it sometimes depends on the height of parents also. Let us talk about more. All body parts do not grow equally during even the age of adolescence also. So during this age also, sometimes the arms or the legs or hands and feet of adolescents look oversized. But later, as the growth of other organs also takes place, then the other parts also catch up and the person looks equally. The pattern of height is also more or less similar in the family members. That means I can say that the height depends on the genes also that is inherited from parents. So it's been observed that if the parents have good height, even the children will also have good height. The shorter parents have shorter children, but it is only the general criteria. We may have seen certain exceptions also. Now we'll talk about another factor, another change, and that is change in the shape of body. So it varies for girls and boys. When we talk about boys, the body of boys becomes more muscular. They becomes more tougher and stronger than girls at this age. That means at the age of puberty. The region below waist is more wider in the case of girls as compared to boys, whereas boys develop broad shoulders and wider chest. So these are the changes in the shape of body has been observed. So more muscular in the case of boys and less muscular in the case of girls. Another important thing is change in voice. You can see this Adam's apple, and you can see some growth of Adam's apple takes place during this age of puberty. So Adam's apple, this is nothing but the protruting part of the throat. The voice box at this age begins to grow, and its size, you can easily observe that some increase in the size of this Adam's apple or voice box at the age of puberty. Now, what are the change in voice? In the case of boys, we observe that they develop a large voice boxes than girls, and thus girls have high pitch voice, whereas boys have a deeper voice. Increased activity of sweat and sebaceous gland, and this is very important and responsible for the pimples on the face at this stage. So this is another factor or the change that has been observed during this age, that is increased in the activity of sweat and sebaceous gland. That means more oil and more sweat has been released at this time, that results in increase in the pimples or acne problem at this stage. So sweat glands and oil glands that has been released from sebaceous gland, they secrete more during this puberty period or at the age of adolescence. During this time, acne and pimple problems are very common because the amount of oil has been released by the sebaceous or the oil gland is now large in amount. So this acne and pimple problem, they are very common among young people, and that is due to increase in the secretion of these glands from on the surface of skin, and that causes this pimple problem. So at this stage, you need to cover your face or wash your face on a regular basis, so that the oil will not stay on the surface of your skin, so that the dust particles will attack on the skin, they will remain over there, and thus germs will cause this pimple or acne problem. So try to wash your face and clean your face from this lot of oil that has been released by the sebaceous gland in your body. So this is one of the good ways so that you can get rid of these pimples and avoid these pimple or acne problem. Now we'll talk about the exocrine gland, that like the sweat gland, the salivary gland, the oil gland. They directly releases their secretion through ducts. Ducts means the pipes, the tubes that are in the body. Whereas endocrine glands are known as ductless glands. That means they do not have any special pipes or tubes in the body. Rather, they directly release their hormones in the bloodstream. That means they releases their hormones directly into the bloodstream, so it reaches to all of the body uniformly. So here you can see the endocrine glands, directly they pass into the blood capillaries, whereas exocrine glands have some specific ducts and tubes through which these secretions can pass into the body. Now, another important factor is the development of sex organs. During this adolescence age or at the age of puberty, we observe that the development of male sex organs like testis and penis takes place completely. And the testis begins to produce sperms. So this is the first initial point of reproduction. Similarly, in the case of girls or in females, ovary becomes enlarged and eggs are about to release, and this shows the maturity. That means it begins to attain maturity. So ovaries start releasing mature egg during this puberty stage. Now, after this, another important thing, and that is very important, reaching mental, intellectual and emotional maturity. That is very, very important. So when we talk about adolescence, we say that it is also a time when person's way of thinking changes. You feel more anger, depression and anxiety at this time. So adolescents are more independent, they are more self-conscious than before, and then they have more thinking ability, and they are thinking more about number of things, and thus we can say that the mental maturity and intellectual maturity is also increased at this point. Definitely it causes emotional maturity also. So these are nothing but the natural part of growing up process. So greatest capacity of learning is also one of the positive factor at this stage, because now it increases your emotional maturity and mental maturity, so it increases your learning capacity also.
To watch the complete video, download the Upbind educational app from Play Store and App Store.